recording, and we can get that rolling there, and that looks good. Alrighty, and then we can go ahead and get rolling here, and I'll just again say welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining in today's session on the National Traffic System and the radiogram that we use to move traffic, or in this case messages, across the country. My fancy title is Section Traffic Manager, which is just a nice way of saying that I kind of oversee traffic handling here in the North Texas section, and look for opportunities to help you folks learn more about traffic handling skills, and keep an eye on the system to see if there's any improvements or changes or anything like that that we could do. So again, thank you so much for joining in, and I guess kind of a fun way to start things is talk about how I got started in traffic handling. It was many years ago. I was in Michigan at the time, and hence the 8 in my call sign. And we were preparing with the county ARRL RACES group as a combined group to hold a simulated emergency test. And when they were handing out assignments, they got to me and they said, okay, we need you to go to the hospital and use this radiogram to send in a request to the Emergency Operations Center. And I just kind of said, I don't know what you're talking about. And so that started my journey into, what is the radiogram format, and how does it fit in the way that we provide public service and those types of things. And so from there, I've kind of built it up over time, and now I kind of oversee things, and again, try to pass the knowledge along. So again, thanks much for joining in. Let's see if this thing's going to move forward. There we go. So just to give kind of a quick what we're going to do during this time, just a quick high-level overview of the traffic system. I don't want to go into a ton of detail. It's boring, but I think if you have a good 30,000-foot view, that'll help. Kind of the skills that you gain from participating in traffic handling, and then we'll dive into the radiogram and its components, and then we'll have some hands-on practice and kind of talk about how traffic nets work and things if you want to join in on one of those. Again, if you have any questions at all while we're going through things, even if it's hey, I remember you talked about that in the radiogram header, but could you explain that one more time? Feel free to throw them in the chat, and we'll kind of take those questions as they come in. Alrighty, so a quick overview of the traffic system. Essentially, we're an organized network of hams that move these messages cross country and beyond, and started in 1914, 1915 as the formal system for relaying traffic across the country. This is the relay in American Radio Relay League. This is why the ARRL formed, was to move these messages across the country. And so if you get that random Jeopardy question of, well, what is the relay in ARRL? I guess now you know the answer. But this is how the league got started, and since then we've been continuously moving traffic across country and beyond. The types of things that we move, we'll start with the highest level of urgency, emergency traffic. And so these are the life and death type things. I need a generator now, or I need diesel for the generator in 5 hours, or the hospital is going to have a big problem. And I'm trying to summarize it, but those types of things. Also specific instructions like evacuate the area, or those types of things. Thankfully, we don't get a lot of emergency traffic on the traffic system, so but we can designate items as emergency to make sure they push through the system quickly and effectively. Then we have priority traffic. This is where time is important, but it's not quite the life and death. So maybe notifications on number of injuries, or shelter will be established at this address at this time, or those types of details. Then we go to welfare traffic, and during incidents, this is kind of the general use of the traffic system. I want to let my family know I'm okay, or hey, I have family in that area, I want to know if they're okay. And so we'll move these welfare messages in and out of affected areas. And so think Puerto Rico with the earthquake. You can think Houston with hurricanes. And we just want to let family members know we're okay, that type of thing. We'll move those through the system as welfare traffic. And then the general type of traffic that we have go through the system, because thankfully we're not in disasters all the time, is routine traffic. And so these are kind of the well wishes, sometimes the welcome to the hobby, or happy birthday, Merry Christmas, those types of messages, and those messages help us test the system to make sure that we're ready to go if something happens, and it helps new operators build their skills, and it helps us keep practicing those skills to build that muscle memory so that when we do get into an incident, we're ready to go. We've already been running and we're well established and we've got the rhythm and we can just kick into it and keep rolling in things. NTS is primarily US and Canada, and we do have the ability to move traffic internationally through the system overall. I know Peter, DL4FN, is in Germany, and he participates in traffic handling and will send messages across. We'll get them here in North Texas. I know he sends them to other areas too. Third-party agreements apply, so you're not sending traffic to North Korea, as far as I know, and you can send traffic on behalf of third parties. You don't have to be a ham to put traffic into the system or receive traffic from the system, but if you're going international, then the third-party rules apply on those. Modes are generally what you would think: voice, CW, so Morse code, and then digital, such as the digital traffic network, which I know with the way the ham bands, the HF bands have been, digital is really nice for punching through the conditions type of thing. But thankfully here in North Texas, we have a lot of traffic activity. So the 7290 traffic net, which is a voice net, that's 7.290, imagine that. A lot of activity even with the way the bands are. Sometimes they'll run into we couldn't quite move it, and you have to kind of get the relay going between stations to make it happen. But thankfully the conditions have been fair, I guess. Here's how a message would generally move through this system. So the way we stack this is we try to start things kind of the same way with when we handle disasters. We start and end at the local level. And so let me see if I can get my fancy laser pointer to work. So we'll start things here at the local net level, and then we'll work that traffic up to either region or area nets, depends on how far it's going to travel, and have it jump across on those and then come back down and make its way back to a local net in the delivery area, so that a ham in that local area can make that delivery. And let me see if I can maybe clarify that a little bit better with an example of how something moves. And so let's say I want to send a message to a family member in Michigan from here in Texas. I go to my local net and I say I have one piece of traffic that's headed to Michigan, and the net control station will work to find another traffic handler that can move it towards Michigan. And I'll talk about how the net control station kind of figures that out later. So once that person's identified, that other station will take that traffic from me and then keep it moving towards Michigan. And so in this example, which is a real world piece of traffic I sent, that station then relayed it over the digital traffic network to a traffic handling node in Indiana that is set up. You could kind of think of it like an email server, except there's no internet involved or anything. You're going over the air for all this. It goes to that node, and then that node hangs on to it saying, okay, I have this message stored that's on its way to Michigan. Station in Michigan connects to that node and checks, do I have any traffic that I could take to my area for local delivery? Finds that there, then says, okay, I'll take it. It gets relayed to their station. And then in this case, that station happened to be 5 miles from my family member up there in the Thumb region. And so hop on the phone and they make that last mile delivery by phone. The vast majority of these are delivered by phone as the last mile. Can you do email? Yeah, but we like to have the personal touch. For these kinds of messages, the happy birthdays or things, also gives a chance to explain, hi, I'm random amateur radio operator and I'm calling you with this message. Kind of email would kind of get lost with that. And it also better reflects when we're in a disaster and we're say we're sending that welfare message, hi, I'm okay. If you're on the receiving end, how would you prefer to get it? Would you like an email? Or would you like to have someone that calls and make sure that they know and say, hey, I got this message from your family member. It says that they're okay, they're at the shelter. You have that personal touch and making sure that that message actually reaches the recipient. Because if the phone call, you get a busy signal or something, we try again. Whereas with the email, we just kind of send it, and then we don't know after that unless they're nice enough to reply. So comment in the chat. That's why I got a call from a random ham when I got my license. So there are some traffic handlers that monitor the FCC database for new hams. They also will monitor for licenses that are about to expire. It just kind of depends on how they want to approach it. And then they'll send the traffic, whether it's the welcome to the hobby, or your license expires on August 10th. Please be sure to renew if you haven't yet, or those types of things. Those types of messages are good because it helps introduce new hams to the hobby, to here's a whole nother facet of this hobby, right? There's a lot of different things you can do with amateur radio, whether it's, doing digital or FT8 or Morse code or traffic handling or, emergency communications, Skywarn, or I just want to talk to France and know that I made it, or, there's a lot of different things that you can do. And plus I feel these messages help bring the personal touch to the hobby, that we're all kind of in this, and we're glad that we're making those connections as hams. I know sometimes might only talk to the other operator for a minute, but it's just cool to make that connection with other folks. But that's why you'll sometimes get that welcome to the hobbies, and enjoy the fun and friendships you will make. I've seen that piece of traffic enough times, so I can write it in my sleep type of thing. If other questions or comments, again, feel free to throw them in the chat. We'll keep rolling here, though. So how does traffic handling help build your skill set as a ham? A lot of it is just how you interact on the air, whether that you're on a traffic net or a Skywarn net, a social net, information net, those types of things. With traffic handling, well, we'll start at the top here. Slow is fast, right? We're trying to relay this message across, and if we're in a real disaster scenario, and I could think like the Oso mudslide up in Seattle, where giant wall of mud comes sliding down the hillside and takes out square miles of land, and now you have big mud pile with houses and trees and cell antenna towers and all that in it, and you're out there throwing a wire in a tree, hopefully, if you've got one nearby, and you're doing things. You're probably doing it by pen and paper. And so if you speak too fast, right, now imagine you're trying to write it down on the other end. We need 6 cases of water and 12 cots and 5, the other person's just gonna, okay, I give up. Slow is fast. I only have to say it once. If I go too fast, then you're going to, I need you to say that again, or could you say this again, or that, and we're going to burn more time. And in the meantime, you have all this other traffic that could be waiting to move, but it's having to sit there and wait because you're having to repeat the message a few times in order to get it across. So whatever you think slow is, go slower than that. Also helps if you enunciate certain words. Just part of that speaking clearly, we want to try and get it across the first time if we can. And then I like to view this lens under the lens of you're not reading it, you're sending it. And I think that just puts a whole different context on what we're trying to achieve with traffic handling. We want the radiogram, as whether it's sloppily as I've written it on here, we want it to arrive like almost a Xerox copy. Like 99% of what's filled out on this is what should appear at the other end when it gets there. We want it there word for word and letter for letter. So again, when I think of it, I'm not reading it to the other station, I'm sending it, I'm relaying it across to the other station. It also helps you build familiarity with participating in nets. I know one of the fun parts on some traffic nets is the net control station will say, please check in with your call sign phonetically only. And then you get, well, this is Kilo 8 Alpha Mike Hotel, and my name's Aaron, and I'm in North Dallas, and I have no traffic. You know, we just want you to check in with your call sign phonetically only. So participating in these nets, you start to tune in on what exactly are the instructions from the net control station. I mean, that applies with Skywarn nets. I don't know how many folks have jumped in on Skywarn nets, and you always get that one that, you know, minimum reporting criteria. I only want to know about half-inch hail or cloud rotation. And then you get the sirens are going off. No one cares, so to speak. If they're going off, we already know there's a tornado warning there. You know, thanks for telling us the sirens went off, but we want to know about hail and we want to know about, cloud rotation, right? And so, you get that feel from the net control station by listening. And Brendan's got a great comment. Listen, listen, listen. I would even say that for any net. Before you jump in and participate, listen to it for a bit, get a feel for how it operates before you jump in. It just helps you get into the groove of it a lot faster if you get the feel for how that net runs. And we'll go over that a little bit more in the how the traffic nets run. ITU phonetics, they're the gold standard. So Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot. If you're on a local net that's focused on training as well as moving traffic, like we have here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, we have a 2-meter traffic net, happens twice a day. If you come in with a dog or a cat, we won't hate it, but we will in time want you to build those ITU phonetics. And if you're jumping in on a traffic net that's like regional area, you're on HF and you're moving traffic, very much the gold standard. We're very much looking for ITU phonetics. So this is a good way to practice those ITU phonetics. Pro words. Say again your traffic, or correction, or I Roger. These types of pro words not only apply to traffic handling, but they're used generally in on-air communications. So whether that's public safety dispatchers, if you've ever worked with police or fire, that type of thing, it's the same things. Can you repeat your traffic, please, or that type of thing. Air traffic control. It's a good way to build your skills on phonetics before you get into the disaster. And we'll go over some of those pro words in a bit. Oh, no, the alternate phonetics are frustrating. Always fun when you're working with the PD and it's Adam Boy King. And if you say, Alpha Bravo Kilo, they kind of look at you and they're like, sorry, I just used what everybody else uses. But yeah, Alpha Bravo. But it's it's just fun. All right, let's keep going before I rat hole in that any further. Brevity. So when we look at the blank radiograms, there are 25 spaces, and we want you to be quick and to the point. It's the same thing when you're, again, public safety, or if you're on a Skywarn net and you've got cloud rotation, it's not time for a start. Well, I'm outside and it's windy, so I looked up and I saw the cloud spin funny and I watched it. Get to the point. What is it? I'm at XYZ intersection and the cloud rotation has started and there may be lowering. That's the crux of the message. And so same thing with radiograms. If you can say it in 5 words rather than 10, well then say it in 5 words, and that type of thing. Okay, don't know how many folks have dived into the incident command system, maybe as part of ARRL, Amateur Radio Emergency Service. Fun fact, that's actually sister programs. So National Traffic System and ARRL are sister programs in ARRL's public safety programs type of thing. If you're moving 213s over the air, the way I like to think of it is if I'm walking into the disaster and I got to have someone sit down at the radio and handle moving those 213s, and I've got 2 options. I've got someone that's never moved anything ever, or I've got someone that's moved a bunch of radiograms to the traffic system. Who am I going to pick? I'm going to pick the person that's got the experience. And why is that? I love this quote at the top. When the disaster begins, the time to prepare ends. And it's really been interesting watching, like with the COVID-19 pandemic and folks, what am I going to do to this? Like, well, we're in it now, so you're not preparing anymore. You are reacting, right? And so for folks that, I know I get the tinfoil hat sometimes of, well, I have, water and some, awful tasting food that if I had to eat it, I would. But um, how do you how do you prepare beforehand? By practicing, because once we're in the disaster, that's not the time to learn, that's the time to go. And so build those skills up before you get in there if you can help it. Mistakes, and we'll talk about that here. um, any any questions that you have, again, throw them in the chat. Feel free to throw them in there. We'll keep rolling here. I like to say that smart mistakes are okay. When you go to learn, that's just part of it. Sometimes it's just, oh, I didn't quite understand that right, or that type of thing. So if you're on a traffic net and you make an error and you know it, then just correct it. Correction, and that's a pro word, correction, and we'll go over that. Or if someone gives you some feedback over the error, well, first, hopefully they're kind about it. But we're giving that feedback to help you tune your skills, so that you can jump in and have those skills built before we get into the disaster. And especially when I know there are new traffic handlers joining in on the traffic nets, and sometimes look at Aaron is just being cranky because I want to get those habits built early, because if you start to learn it wrong and then we come back and try and, as well, this is actually how it should go, it's a lot harder to unravel all of that muscle memory you've built versus if we catch it in the beginning. So if you get started on a traffic net and it's like, well, here's some feedback, that type of thing, we want to help you build that skill set right from the beginning, rather than having to come in later and go, well, now you need to, change it, and then you're going to be I keep forgetting. So we want to get that built right in the beginning as you get rolling. If there's one thing that I can have you walk away with from this talk, without going too deep into the psychology world, the biggest question I get is, I'm going to get on the air and I'm going to get on the traffic net and I'm going to make a mistake and I'm going to sound stupid. We've all been there. I have been traffic handling for a bit, and I still make mistakes. And I like to joke that, well, I'm putting the amateur in amateur radio today. I made a mistake, right? And we just keep rolling with it. I acknowledge a mistake, and we keep rolling. And it's the same thing if someone else jumps in and there's a mistake. It is not the end of the world. This is how we learn and grow. We embrace something that's new. Hopefully we try and build our base knowledge before we jump in, rather than jumping in blind. But when mistakes happen, that's when learning occurs, and that's how we build those skills. So if you have folks that, how do I overcome that fear? Jump in. That's the best advice I can give you, is just roll with it. Okay, that's kind of the 30,000 foot view of the traffic system and kind of the skills you can get. This is a really good kind of the meat part of it, but I'll check with folks. Any questions on that kind of 30,000 foot view? Again, I could go into the different, what are different traffic nets and regions and that type of thing, but that could go for quite a bit, and it's can be kind of boring as you're starting out. So here, I'll take an opportunity to fuel for a bit, and then if no questions, we'll jump into the radiogram. Mistakes are always all right. So the comment in the chat, so for the recording, that folks know, our local NTS is also training that mistakes are always welcome. Yeah, we try to help folks learn and grow and that type of thing. And even, maybe it's let's just talk offline by email real fast and let me help clarify type of thing. Yeah, it's always our goals with the training nets is to help folks build their skills. All right, we'll move into the radiograms. And again, any questions, just throw them in there. So why radiograms? It's the same thing. Why ICS 213 is the general message form. It's the standardized message format that we're all using. So whether the radiograms here in the US or it's up to Canada or it's across to Germany or whatnot, it's the same form. And it allows us to effectively move the traffic across the board in a way that's traceable. And this is the one thing I really like about the radiograms versus the 213s. We have some things in the header and things to help track it and help to try and make sure words aren't lost as it moves in transit or things like that. But if we do have a radiogram that disappears into the ether, and it does happen, we can start to follow that message across. All right, who did you relay it to? And okay, you got it, and who did you send it to? And sometimes we'll send that follow-up, and then suddenly the message appears at its destination. It's like, well, it got hung up somewhere, and that type of thing. But we can follow them through if we need to. So this is the form. If you've printed it out, awesome. We'll have you try and fill one out in a bit, but we'll walk through how this works first. A little bit of animations in here, and it's sort of smooth when it goes over online. So hopefully it's not jumping too bad, but for the conversation, it won't affect things. But okay. So we'll break the radiogram into these blocks, and the first one's the most is the roughest one. So we'll spend a little extra time in it, and then the rest of them will be easier. So the header overall just is what helps us track that message. You can think of it like the email header, like who's it from, who's it to, so to speak. But to gets its own spot on a radiogram. But this is what helps us to track these things. It starts with a number. And this number is assigned by whoever first fills out the blank radiogram. So if I have one of these and I start filling it out, I would give it a unique number so that I can track it in my records. There's no standardized way of doing this. I started with 1, and then my second one was 2, and my third one is 3. Some folks will go by the month. So if it's March and it's their first one, they'll go 301, and the next one be 302, and then when it's July, so 701, 702. It's kind of however you want to do it. And then you can reset them, periodically if you want. So maybe the first of the year you go back to 1. Some stations do it by month. Again, it's just kind of however you want to do it. I've been rolling with the same numbers for a few years. I'm at 390 something, and I might go back to 1 when I hit 500 or something like that. But again, this is just for your own records. This and everything else that we're going to talk about, aside from the little tracking items at the end, will all stay exactly the same as this moves through the system. So your number will stay attached to this all the way through. And then if we have to come back and ask you a question, we have a question about your number 1, then you know how to go back in your records and do that. Precedence is, here's a good question in the chat before I jump into precedence. Are we required to archive our messages? It is a good practice to hang on to them, and I would hang on to them for maybe 1 or 2 months. Now, this is for routine traffic. I would hang on to them for a month or 2, just in case there's that odd question. 1 month is good. I think 2 is some extra insurance, and then you can discard them however you want to do that. I keep mine electronically now. I started with paper, and I think that's a really great way to begin. I find that by actually having the physical page and filling it out by hand and things, I learn it better that way for me. And so same thing with net controlling. When I started, it was written down. I get the feel for it. If you start with software and then you wind up in the field and there are no computers and you're having to do it by paper and you've never done it by hand before, you're going to have a big learning curve versus if you build the skill with paper first and then transfer it. So I would start with written documents and then hang on to them for about a month, maybe 2, and then you can go ahead and recycle them, right? That's what you're supposed to do, or that type of thing. That's a good question. Again, any others, throw them in there. We'll continue precedence. This is back to that, what's the urgency of this thing? Emergency, priority, welfare, or routine. When we fill out the radiogram, Typically, I'll just write R for routine. When I say it on the air, I say routine, but I'll write R. The only word that always gets spelled out is emergency. We want to call out the high level of importance of emergency traffic. So the word emergency is always written out. But the others, like priority, welfare, routine, we just write their initial and we call it a day. Handling instruction. This provides some guidance on how the message should be handled as it moves through the system, and also about delivery. I'm going to put them on screen. These are also in the handout if you happen to print it out. The most common one that you're going to see is Hotel X-Ray Golf, the last one, which basically says, please don't spend any money trying to deliver this. If you are going to have to spend money to deliver it, well then just cancel the delivery, but let me know. And that's what we mean by service originating station, is you send something back to whoever put that in the system to say, unable to deliver or whatever that reason is, type of thing. We'll go into that a little bit later. The one that is kind of despised in this list is Hotel X-Ray Delta, which is essentially real-time tracing. So if I introduce something with a Hotel X-Ray Delta instruction, what'll happen is every time that message moves, those stations will need to send me a report on that movement. So I send it to someone else. They then relay it to the next station. At that point, that first station is supposed to say in a message back, okay, I relayed it to XYZ station at this date and time. And that station is supposed to send me something that says, okay, I got it from that first station at this date and time. And then when they move it on to the next station, the same thing happens again. Okay, at this date and time, I sent it off to that station. And then that station, same thing. At this date and time, I got it. And so every time it hops, it generates 2 messages back to whoever introduced it. It's great for tracking emergency things where you got to know that it's making progress. If it's a happy birthday, type of thing, do we need that level of tracking on it? It generates a lot of traffic. If everything was sent with Hotel X-Ray Delta, there would be nothing but acknowledgments moving through the system. And so we reserve Hotel X-Ray Delta for those really urgent things, or I've tried sending messages through and they're just not making it. I want to understand where the clog is. So let me trace this one and see what's going on. So I would only use Delta in extreme circumstances. Did I beat that horse good? Please don't use that one. It was really fun when it was used during field day one year. There was a lot of feedback on that group when they sent all their field day traffic with the tracer instruction on it. Does the reply go back down the chain or acknowledge to the originator only? So whether it's a Hotel X-Ray Delta, or let's say it's Hotel X-Ray Charlie, and you can use more than one of these. It's not like you have to pick one. You could do a bunch of them. Hotel X-Ray Charlie, report and date and time of delivery back to the originating station. You would write a radiogram back to whoever that radiogram was from with that information. And whether it goes back the same exact way that it came to you, or it goes through a completely different part of the system, it doesn't matter. It just starts making its way back to whoever introduced that piece of traffic. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to flow exactly back the way it came. It can work through the system through another channel. Okay, other questions, throw them in the chat, please. Station of origin. This is effectively who's filling out the radiogram for the first time. So if you are filling out a radiogram to a family member, you are the station of origin. If you are filling out the radiogram on behalf of someone else that wants to put a message into the system, you are the station of origin. You are the first ham that is filling this in. So your call sign goes in the station of origin. And then back to that, was it delivered or did I have a question? I know to come back to you because you're the station of origin that brought this thing for the first time. And this station of origin will stay there through the whole journey. It does not change. None of this changes. Place of origin can be a little trickier, so we'll get to that in a sec. But station of origin is whoever is filling out the very first radiogram for that for the first time. The check is basically a way for us to see if any words disappeared or got added to the message. So it's a count of how many words are in the text. There are some shorthands we can use, and I'll go into those in a bit. If you use one or more shorthands, then we put ARRL before the number to signify we're using shorthands in the message. But if you don't have any shorthands, then it's just, count. There are 9 words in here, so the check is 9. And I'll show the example of that when I get some real traffic up on the screen. Place of origin, okay, here's the curveball. This is the location of the person who authored the message. So if this is you writing a message to a family member, then it is where you are, city and state. If it's you're on the phone with somebody, like I'm here in Dallas, and let's say I'm on the phone with someone in Fort Worth that wants to send a message, and I fill in the radiogram, the station of origin is who? It's me. I'm the one that's filling in the radiogram for the first time. The place of origin is where? Fort Worth. It's the location of the person who's authoring the text. So that's the fun curveball. Now, if I were to put Dallas instead of Fort Worth, the system will not implode. But the place of origin is whoever is authoring the text. The station of origin is the first ham that's filling out the radiogram. Time filed is optional, just like the handling instruction is optional. But you should put the time filed if it's emergency or priority or welfare traffic. We want to know the age of that in minutes. And also with the Hotel X-Ray Bravo instruction, which says just cancel this if it's not delivered within so many hours. Well, I got to know how many hours went by. So definitely fill out the time filed for those types of things. The traffic system uses universal, coordinated universal time, so UTC or Zulu. If you don't indicate a time zone, then that's what's assumed. Universal time is what's assumed. If you are going to use a time zone, then make sure you put it in there. So whether that's Central Daylight Time or Eastern Daylight Time or that type of thing, then you'd put the time zone in there along with the time. Very rarely, though, is the time filled in. The date, this is really easy. First 3 letters of the month, and then the date. So, January, I still say the whole word on the air. January 1-5, March 3, July 2-2. And notice how I give each number individually. The year is never included. If you got a piece of traffic that's a year old, then probably time to give up on it. But we don't need the year. These messages aren't that old, and it just burns time, right? We want to get these moved as efficiently as we can. So the year doesn't add any value, so we don't bother with it. And again, UTC, and same story. If you were to list a piece of traffic on a local traffic net, and it's 10:30 p.m. here in Dallas. It's technically the next day in UTC, but if I don't put tomorrow on it, the world again does not end. But if we want to follow the rhythm of it, we would follow whatever universal time is. Well, a comment in there. Thanks for clearing up place origin. Yeah, that's a good time, isn't it? All right, so here's how I would read the header on the air. And again, this comes down to some net personalities. On the Dallas-Fort Worth 2-meter traffic nets, I'm going to read it like how we would do it on there. You might find that your local traffic net is just a little bit different. So again, listen to pick up that net personality is what I like to call that. But I would say this header just like this. Please copy message number 312, routine, Hotel X-Ray Golf, Kilo 8, Alpha Mike Hotel, 12, Dallas, Texas, 2145, January 15. Now notice I don't have to say, okay, the number is 312, and the precedence is routine, and the station of origin is it. We're all using the same template, so we all know the order of things. We don't need to say the subject over and over again. Again, we're trying to move these efficiently, so we don't need to burn time on that. I did mention that 2 items are optional, the handling instruction and the time. So how would I read that if I didn't have those? I just skip them. Please copy number 312, routine, Kilo 8, Alpha Mike Hotel, 12, Dallas, Texas, January 15. Again, the other station will know that there is no handling instruction and there is no time filed. It's one of those rhythm of the business type of things. We know that those are optional, and so if you don't mention it, then they're not there, and then we can keep moving with things. And comment that's basically how the header is read here in Northern Virginia. Yeah, a lot of this is, if you're really bored someday, there is a 400+ page best practices PDF that I just hate. So, but if you really want to get in there and read it, there's a lot of reading you could do on traffic, and it's all been built just based on things learned over time. It's an excellent resource, but if I were to throw it at you and say, go read this 400-page thing, you're going to get lost. So a lot of this is like the 80%, what you're going to see the vast majority of the time. But there is a best practices guide if you really want to get the big details on good traffic handling. That's the header. So that's the hard part. We're through it. Any questions on the header? I will keep moving into the address part next, but again, any questions, throw them in there. The addressee is the destinations. There we go. Yeah, methods and practices guide. Yeah, MPG. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. 400 pages of fun. This is essentially like sending any letter. First, last name, call sign if they have one. Again, they don't necessarily have to have one. So if you want to send, happy holidays, or Merry Christmas, happy birthday to a family member that doesn't have a license, please do. But first, last name, call sign if they have one, address, city, state, zip, and phone number. The last mile delivery is very much done by phone. So we ask that you include a phone number. If you include an email, that is an option. It removes that personal touch, but some folks just don't want their phone number out there. We'll still deliver it by email. If you do include it, then you need to write it out. So like for this example, if it was jane.doe@example.com, then it's jane.dot at sign or at example.dot.com. We spell all of those things out. We don't put a period or anything like for that, because again, you're relaying it on the air. So how do you say a period? I mean, you would spell it out to indicate there is a dot there. So here, let's send this one as an example to Jane Doe, address and phone number. And so I would read this like this. I would say that this is to Jane. I'm going to go a little faster just for sake of time. I would pause to give the other person time to write. But so this is going to Jane Doe. I spelled Delta Oscar Echo. Amateur call Alpha Romeo 1 Tango. Address figures 123. Mixed group 85 Tango Hotel. Street. Direction southeast. Sumtown, Wisconsin. Zip figures 00121. Phone figures 330-555-4424. Break. Now, break's one of those fun ones. We'll talk about that in a second. This is your introduction to ProWords. And so in the reference guide, there's a whole list of these, but we'll cover some of the more common ones here. I spell means you're about to spell something. Good practice to do that with last names because they can be fun. Also can be good to do that with first names. If it's John, is it Jon? Is it John? That type of thing. So if it makes sense to spell it, go for it. But if you're going to spell it, make sure you kind of do that without pausing. So instead of Doe, I spell dot. The other person's probably already tried to write it down at that point. So if you're going to spell it, then just go right into spelling it. So going to Jane Doe, I spell Delta Oscar Echo, and then keep rolling with it. Amateur call means you're about to give a call sign. Figures, whether address figures or zip figures or phone figures, you're about to give some numbers. Mixed group means you're about to give a mixture of letters and numbers. Directions really only used in the address. So it's just there to Northeast 8th Street or Southwest this or that type of thing. And then break. This usually throws a curveball because I know a lot of nets here in the Metroplex will have in the preamble, if you have emergency or priority traffic, at any time, say break, break, followed by your call sign. So sometimes it creates this, well, break must mean emergency. Well, in this case, break indicates you're pausing. And so you would read you'd relay the address and phone number and then break, and then you'd let up on push to talk, and you wait for that other station to come back to you with whether they need any fills. I need you to repeat this or that type of thing. Or they will say go or go ahead, go text. That means you can continue with the radiogram. They have everything. And in the comment, we say break for text for clarity. And we'll have some folks do that here in the Metroplex too. They'll say break for text to let you know that they're pausing before they jump into the text section. Op notes. And so this is not something that's commonly seen, but it can be, so I'll just mention it. Two places for op notes that they can appear in these. This is the first one. This one relates to handling or delivery. So in this example, I've put work day only. And so maybe the phone number I've given is a work phone number. And so why bother calling on the weekend? This helps that station that's about to do the delivery in this example to have an idea of when to try making the phone call, so they're not burning time on a weekend attempt that's just going to lead to voicemail or something like that. Again, operational notes or op notes are optional, but for this first one, it gives some help to that delivering station or to those handling it if there's any extra information that might help them when relaying this along. That's the addressee part. If you have questions on that, throw them in the chat. We'll go into this receiving station info part. This is really easy. The only time I ever fill this out is if I'm dropping the radiogram in the mail. This is your station information. And this can be helpful if you're putting it in the mail and you want that person to know how to get a hold of you if they have any questions or anything like that. Or if you're in an emergency or something like that, who filled in this radiogram, then you put your information there, and then that way if there are any follow-up questions, they know how to get a hold of you. Maybe it's we can't read this one word, can you read it for us, or that type of thing. Otherwise, I know my name and my phone number and stuff. I don't need to fill it in. It's only helpful if I'm going to put it in the mail or something like that. And someone else is going to be looking at it. And if they have questions, they know how to get a hold of me. So that is virtually always blank for me. The text is the heart of the message. There are 25 spaces or 25 groups. I like to think of it as $5 a word. Going back to that brevity and be concise and to the point, we want to very effectively relay these through the system, and so the longer they are, the more time they take. If it's worth the extra $5 or $10, then it's worth it. But if there's a way to be more concise and still get the message across clearly and effectively, then go for it. So let's say I wanted to send this. Great seeing you yesterday. Hope to get together again soon. 73. So in radiograms, punctuation, just like in the email, is spelled out. So periods are written as either the letter X, which we say is initial X-ray, or the whole word X-ray. Both will work. Others that you might see that aren't too common, but they are used on occasion, is if you have a question, the question mark is written as the word query. Exclamation points are written as exclamation. Not too often, but you're going to see a lot of X-rays in things. That's the most common one. And so here's how this would translate. Great seeing you yesterday, initial X-ray. Hope to get together again soon, figures 7-3. Now, I didn't need to put an X-ray between soon and 73. Can kind of gather that was the end of the sentence. And so why spend the $5 to put a period there when I don't need it, right? So, and sometimes I'll still do it, and I'm reading it on the traffic net, and I say X-ray figures that I laugh at myself, and I'm like, well, that's how I read it, so go for it. But, it's like, I guess I had extra $5 in my pocket, and let's go for it. But, if you don't need that X-ray there, then, no need to spend the $5 type of thing. If it helps clarify things, I would include it. So if it was like a date, right? If it was on August 10, 73, then I would put an X-ray there. I'd spend the $5 to make sure there's some clarity. On August, figures 10, initial X-ray, figures 73. Just gives that extra clarity that the 73 is not part of the year or the, whatever might be next to it type of thing. Question in the chat, your responsibility to help format the message. So if whether I'm filling it out for myself or on behalf of someone else, I own filling in the radiogram. I'm the one that's introducing it and making it for the first time. So I own whatever words get in there, because as soon as I relay it on the air, ideally, that's exactly how it's going to arrive on the other end. So when you're putting the message together, go for brevity and things. To make sure the message moves effectively through the system. And if you have a word, if you were to send supercalifragilisticexpialidocious on a radiogram, I would really look at you like, why? But in other words, go for simplicity, but still get the point across. If you're moving a radiogram that says we need methotrexate, like a medication, well then that's worth it to say methotrexate. You're not going to simplify it any further than that as a medication, right? But again, try and be concise and efficient with your traffic when you go to author it before you bring it to the system. Questions on 73. Is it figures 73 or 73? When we have numbers in the text like this, we use the pro word figures to indicate that it's a number, and then we say each digit individually. So it's figures 7, 3. We give each number individually. I mean, otherwise you could get the the good time of if you say 146 or 146 or what. We want to standardize how we do that, and we want to do it in a way where we're going to make sure each number gets there clearly. So we give them one at a time, each digit individually. Do you have to get the sender's approval of the message? If it was an ICS 213 and you're working in an emergency operations center or something, then yeah, there's going to be someone that signs off on it. If you are authoring your own message, then you approve your own message type of thing. If you're on the phone with somebody and they want to send, happy birthday, type of thing, and you decide that you could say that in the shorthand or, that type of thing, you don't necessarily need to get their okay to say, well, I'm going to take that period out because we don't need it or, that type of thing. A lot of this is just, good judgment on, if someone's telling you, tell them, tell them I'm glad to hear from them and that I hope they're doing well. Well, you can, put that in the message right along those lines. I am glad to hear from you. I am doing well. I wouldn't cut it in half or anything like that. Try and follow what they're giving you, but the way I would do it on the phone is they'll tell me kind of what it is they want to say, and sometimes they're making it up as they say it, so it's not exactly ready. But I will type it out, and then when they're done, I'll say, okay, here's what I'm going to send, blah 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 do 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 do, and then they'll go, okay, great, or well, can you add, or that's kind of their sign off type of thing, just to verify that I've got everything that they wanted to say in that. So hopefully that gives you a good answer there. We'll keep moving. When you're putting the check together, things like X-ray and query count as a word when you're filling in the check. So if you look at what we've got on the text here, it's 12. Great seeing you yesterday, initial X-ray are the first 5. Hope to get together again are the next 5. Soon, figures 7, 3 are the last 2. So the check here is 12. And when I read that as part of the header, I would say 1, 2. And we'll put this all in the radiogram so you can see it all as a big picture. Again, I would pause between words, but for sake of time, great seeing you yesterday, initial X-ray. Hope to get together again soon, figures 7, 3, break. So some more pro words that we can have here. Initials, or some say letter group, means you're about to give initials. Break for signature, because the signature is next. Again, we're giving that pause to see if that other station needs any fills. I need you to say again word after hope, or please spell yesterday, or things like that. If you get the please say all again after yesterday, that's a good sign you might have went a little too fast, and they just gave up. So slow down the next time. Affirmative or negative is much better than yes or no because it's longer, so we have less chance of misinterpreting it, type of thing. So affirmative or negative. And then correction, if you did make a mistake, then you can just say correction and then whatever the correction is. So great seeing you, initial correction, yesterday. I say again, great seeing you yesterday, initial, it gets you into that rhythm of putting that correction in and keeping things flowing. So the last part now, what if I'm a bad speller? Well, when you read it over the air, we won't know how you spelled it. We'll just know how you said it. But if someone asks you to spell something like methotrexate, right? Try and get it right, but if something is introduced with a misspelling and that's how it's handed to you as it's in transit, then relay it exactly as you got it. We're not in the middle of this to change the message while it's in transit, right? This is not the time for the telephone game where I start with, I need 2 cases of bottled water, and it ends with, I need 5 1-gallon jugs of iced tea, or something, right? So if it has a mistake in it or things, move it along just as you got it. I wouldn't change anything like that. So if something comes in with a spelling mistake, it'll move through the system like that. As long as we know what it's saying, then we're okay. The signature. So this is the last part that would generally be filled out. It's below the text and above the sent and received info with no label. So it's just kind of one of those, we know it goes there types of things. Generally, it's your name and your call sign if you have one. So in my case, it's Aaron, K8AMH. This is how I would finish this message on the air. I would say signed. So I've read the text, I break, the other station says go ahead. I would say signed, Aaron, amateur call, Kilo 8, Alpha Mike Hotel, end number 312, no more, how copy. So end means that's the end of the radiogram. Book traffic we'll talk about in a second. No more is just how many you have left to relay to that station. So if you're like, I have 3 that are going to Michigan, then I would read the first one. I would say end number, whatever that was, 2 more, how copy this one. And then the other station knows we still have some more to go. How copy, so did you copy it successfully? And then, Roger, I Roger your number 312, good copy on 312, something like that is how you'd know the other station has everything successfully. Now, this is the second place where op notes can appear. This is more commonly used. This is related to replies or servicing. And so, for example, we could have Aaron, Kilo 8 Alpha Mike Hotel, op note, reply or service to KE5YTA. Effectively, what this is saying is if you have a reply that you need to send to me, send it to me via KE5YTA, and his name's Roger. So the message would go to Roger, and I'll show this in a real radiogram of how this works. This is good for like for Peter in Germany, how we get the messages back to him. So the last part of this is your tracking. So everything we've talked about so far, aside from the receiving station info, will not change in the radiogram ever. This will stay the same as it moves through the system. The received and sent info, this is for your tracking. Who did you get it from and who did you send it to? And so let's say I sent this to Roger. I would put KE5YTA. I like to track what net I was on when I did that. That's optional, but that's just a little piece of extra info for me. And again, I use UTC here, with the date and the time that I relayed it. And that way, if I need to go back and try and follow its journey, I have my records. Roger will have his records, and we can start tracing it through the system. So this is how this radiogram looks from everything that we've built up. So let me zoom in on it so we have a little bit better view. So the number precedence, we had no handling instructions, so that's blank. The origin is me. Check of 1-2 Dallas. Where it's headed, the message, signature, and then who I relayed it to after I moved it on the traffic net. Are there any questions on this example? And I'll buy you some time. I did not receive an email with the radiogram download or print. Okay, so if you go to k8amh.com/handout, oh, is that plural? Let me go find out because I don't remember. If the browser will open, I think it's plural. Yeah, okay. Thanks, Sean. Yeah. So we'll go ahead and let this open slowly for some reason. Come on, internet. There we go. You'll find the reference guide here on the left, and then I've got 2 copies of the radiogram forms. One that is not fillable, the other one that is. So if you prefer to fill it out on screen, then you've got it. Great. Any other questions or anything, feel free to throw them in there. What if we have the same message going to more than one person? So let's say it's, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and I'm sending it to 3 different people. We call that book traffic. It's just a nice way of saying that, well, the message itself is the same. I just have it going to different people. And then when I go to relay it on the air, I only need to read the text once. And then I just give the destination separately. Each radiogram still has its own number. So if I had, 3 going to family members in Michigan, then, if it was 312 is the first one, then the second one's 313 and the next one's 314. And then the address information would change, right? Different destination, but the rest of it's the same. So I would relay this. There's 2 ways you could do it. One is where you just give the common parts, the parts that appear the same in all of them. In Dallas, we read the first radiogram all the way through the first time. So we start with number 312, routine, kilo 8 alpha 2, Jane Doe, Grace, seeing you, sign. And then the next one, we would say, okay, the next one in the book is number 313, and it's going to John Smith, 123 Fake Street, and number 313, one more in the book, how copy. And then the next one would be 314 going to Jane Smith, type of thing. So again, listen to that net personality, but we don't need to read the whole header. We don't need to read the text over again or things in the comment. Great for your field day traffic, book of 10. Yeah, it's just more, speedy type of thing. It helps speed up moving things. And you think about the, ARRL 56 new amateur radio license. Welcome to the hobby. Enjoy the fun and friendships you will make, right? If someone like Loren, November 1 India, Quebec, India, or Chris, November X-ray 9 Kilo, and Jim, are sending the same greetings. We just put that through as book traffic. Only have to read the message once, and then we can go through all the destinations type of thing. Okay, I talked about shorthands. So we'll dive in these in a bit. Here's an example of where a shorthand is used. And so this is real. I took out the name. ARRL 56 new amateur radio license. Welcome to the hobby. Enjoy the fun and friendships you will make. 73. So fun how you just memorize those over time. We're using a shorthand here because this does mean something, and it's in your handout. The ARRL numbered radiograms. They provide a way for us to send common phrases very quickly. When you deliver it to the other end, of course, you're going to say what it means. Like I wouldn't say, okay, you got a message and this is ARRL 50. They're not going to know what that means. So tell them what it means. And then in the check, we indicate that we have a shorthand in use. And so the check of 1-2, the example would become Alpha Romeo Lima 1-2. Again, to flag the fact that we've used a shorthand. Here are some common ones. You have the full list of them in the handout. ARRL 50, greetings by amateur radio. 56, congratulations on your, and then whatever, most worthy and deserved achievement. For servicing, If we want to tell a station we delivered their message, then it's ARRL 47, and then we give the number and the destination and the date and time of delivery. If we couldn't deliver it, then ARRL 67, and then we give the message number and maybe some other details, and then we explain why, phone number, out of service, or no answer, that type of thing. So when we look at this example, ARRL 56, new amateur radio license becomes, congratulations on your, and this is the blank, so what follows this shorthand here, new amateur radio license, initial x-ray, that's what goes in the blank. So congratulations on your new amateur radio license, a most worthy and deserved achievement. Welcome to the hobby. Enjoy the fun and friendships you will make, 73. That would be how I would deliver it to its destination. We spell out the numbers in these shorthands, and this is to help clarify that this is part of the shorthand. So I would read this as initials, Alpha Romeo Lima, 50, I spell Foxtrot India Foxtrot Tango Yankee, 6, I spell Sierra India X-ray. We're spelling them to call out the fact that they are spelled out words rather than like figures 7-3, right? We want to clarify that these are written out words rather than some digits. And so that's why we spell them out like that. Some other quick examples, and then we can do maybe a little bit of hands-on. Let me zoom in on this just for fun. So ARRL 50, John, and congrats on new amateur radio license. X-ray, enjoy all that the radio community offers. X-ray, best regards. ARRL 50, remember what that is? It's greetings by amateur radio. And so that's how, greetings by amateur radio, John, and congrats on it. Here we have the op note that Peter includes. So he signs it, Peter, DL4FN, op note reply or service message to him through Roger in Richardson, Texas. And so what this means, I see someone recognizes Peter's messages in the chat. What this means is that to send something back to Peter, so like if that other station wants to say thank you and hope to hear you on the air, or whatever their reply is, or if it's, I couldn't deliver it because the phone number is disconnected, I would send the reply to Peter, DL4FN, care of Roger, KE5YTA in Richardson, Texas. So I won't send it to Germany. I'm going to route it to Roger here in Dallas because Peter has asked Roger here in Dallas to act as kind of his liaison to get the messages back to him in Germany. So I'm going to send it back to Roger, and then Roger will relay it across to Peter. If that makes sense, how this op note works at the end. Again, this is relating to the replies or service messages. We're going to still send this reply to Peter, but we're going to route it through Roger because that's who Peter's designated here in the U.S. For receiving, for working, those replies back to him in Germany. Same thing here on this one. Peter's got the op note. Hello Gary, congrats on your new amateur license. That type of thing. And again, these are ones I put in the mail. Because I choose if I can't get a hold of them on the phone, then I mail them. It's a personal choice, and I fill out these details here in the the receive box so that if they have any questions, they know how to get a hold of me. And I put a little letter with an explanation too, just saying this is part of traffic handling, and here's what the message says, and that type of thing. All right, so we'll do a little hands-on. Let's say you're going to send something to me. There's my address and phone number, and you're going to send hope to hear you on the band soon and 73. So go ahead and take some time if you've got your blank radiogram printed out, and if it's, you can make up the number, it'd be 1 or 500 or however you want to do that, but I'll give you a couple minutes, and in the meantime, if folks have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. Again, more fuel, getting a little cooler, but I'll still work it. Excuse me. Again, we'll give you another minute here. So again, any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. The handling instructions definitions list. Excuse me. So that is also in the handouts. Why don't I open it here, and we'll kind of walk through it very, very quickly. So at the beginning of this, phonetic alphabet is again the gold standard. And then the handling instructions and what they all mean. Precedences, so again, priority, welfare, emergency, and then common prosigns that are used in traffic handling. And then that's followed by the ARRL shorthands. And there are two blocks of these. The first group is generally emergency related, like supplies requests or comments on damage to the area or things. Group 2 is more for the routine-y things. Greetings by amateur radio, greetings on your birthday, the holiday greetings and things like that. Other questions? So from a big picture, how do I initiate a message from a local level and get it to a regional relay? So the way it'll work, we'll go through this in the kind of the net discussion, is you'll bring it to a local traffic net, and then someone else that's also checked into that traffic net will be able to act as that bridge to a regional or area net, and then they'll take that there and move it there, and that's how it'll jump across. I think it'll become a little bit clearer when we get into the how the traffic nets work here in just a second. But that's kind of the quick answer, is when you bring it to the local level, you'll have folks that can take things to the regional area or things, and that's how it'll keep going. Yeah, there'll be liaisons to other nets. Yeah, we're going to walk through that. Yeah. All right, so let's keep moving. If you don't have it quite filled out, that's okay. This is effectively how it should look. So whatever number you put, and then routine, your call sign, a check of 9 or a niner, your city and state, today's date, then my address and phone number, and then one word in each blank. Hope to hear you on the band soon. Figure 7-3, and then your name and your call sign here in this little tiny spot. Anybody have any questions on how we filled it out this way, or if you had something a little different or anything that I can clarify on this? I'll give you about 30 seconds. And then we'll jump in a little bit. We got a little bit more to go. We're not doing horrible on time. We've got maybe another 10, maybe 15 minutes. I added an initial X-ray. So again, so that's the comment. I added an initial X-ray in the chat. So if you put an X-ray between soon and 73, you can do that. Is it necessary? Not necessarily. I know the sentence ended here at soon. If you put it, you can put it. But I personally like to save the $5, and so I don't put an X-ray there for a period. Another question: What's the rationale for place of origin? So again, on this is the location of whoever authored this text. The rationale for that, yeah. So this is so that we know where the message came from. Because again, if you are the station of origin, like if I'm filling it out and I'm in Dallas, but the people that are authoring that message are in Fort Worth, right? And if I say I need 5 cots at Mercy Hospital in Fort Worth, or Mercy Hospital in Dallas, or Mercy Hospital, right? It just helps provide some of that clarity first off. And then also, as Darwin's put in there. I think it's to help replies go back to the proper local net. It does help with routing. Because we've got that clue in there of where we can head it back to for its destination. But when we think about emergency traffic or things, just where did this come from? Kilo 8 Alpha Mike Hotel, that's an 8, so this must have come from Michigan or West Virginia or something, right? No, it's coming from Dallas, Texas. And so if I don't have access to the FCC ULS, the Universal Licensing System, or things like QRZ to look up addresses, then this is my clue. Place of origin, at least for me, when I send it, would be Dallas, Texas, and that's how you'd know how to route it back to me, type of thing. Yeah. Other questions on this? Feel free to throw them in the chat. I'm going to keep rolling just to try and keep conscious of time here. So now on traffic nets, I won't dive into this too much. It's pretty much like any other net you've hopefully joined, where you get the preamble, welcome to the traffic net. My name is, and I'm your net control station, and I will now take check-ins from stations with traffic, which means you're bringing a radiogram that you want to introduce into the system or relay through the system. And then you can take check-ins from stations without traffic, which means I don't have any radiograms to relay, but I'm here if you need help relaying things. And then after that, the relaying begins. 2 stations will connect together on the air. And then this is, I'm doing this as a voice net because that's how at least many folks here at Dallas get started on traffic nets, is at the local level. If it's a CW net or things, you follow similar. Here's how a net control could log things. For this one, I was the one that was running the net. And so, of course, I track myself as the net control station. Next, we had Calvin check in. He brought a piece of traffic for Bowie, Texas. Then Don, W9BE, checked in. He acted as a liaison for TEX, the Texas Traffic Net, which that, for me as a net control station, tells me an option on how to route traffic out of Dallas-Fort Worth. I have this option for moving traffic out of the area. Same thing with Roger, KE5YTA. He interfaces with the digital traffic net. And if I have to send something Michigan, Wisconsin, Washington State, something, then I know that Roger is an option to move things out of the area through the digital traffic net, and same with John. Roger, in this case, brought a book of 5, so it's the same text and things, going to 5 different destinations. 2 of those were in Dallas, 1 in Plano, 1 in Prosper, 1 in Melissa. And then John also had a book of 3, separate book, but book of 3. And then he had another one that's not part of the book. And then last, Corky checked in with a net report, which is how we turn in our statistics. And they get reported to me, and then I report them to ARRL headquarters. But how do we turn in those net reports? Well, through a radiogram. So, okay, let me turn off the pointer, and we'll keep moving. So the way this would work is, after figuring out who can route what, the net control station would have those 2 stations connect, and say, okay, I'm, this is K at AMH, I'm ready to copy your traffic. And then they would read the header and the address and phone number and then break. And then I would either say, please say again phone number, or please say again city, or please spell city. Or when I'm ready to go, I would say go text, go ahead. Other station would then read the text section 1 word at a time and then break. And then I would say, please say again word after blah, or they would go ahead, go signature. Then they would read the signature, signed, some da-da-da, end number, whatever, no more, or 1 more. How copy, I Roger your number, whatever, thanks for the traffic, and then K at AMH, and they, thank you for taking that, and ID, and then turn it back to net control. That's how you would flow. I see the questions on how to get involved. I'll jump into that in just a second. So the way I would move this is I would say, please copy my number 3, and I'm going to again go fast. Please copy my number 312 routine, Kilo 8 Alpha Mike Hotel 12, Dallas, Texas, January 15, to Jane Doe, amateur call Alpha Romeo 1 Tango, address figures 123, mixed group 85 Tango Hotel, street, direction southeast, some town, Wisconsin, zip figures 00121, phone figures 330-555-4424. Break, and then the other station, go ahead. Great seeing you yesterday. Initial X-ray, hope to get together again soon. Figures 7-3. Break, and the other station would say go. Signed Aaron, amateur call, Kilo 8 Alpha Mike Hotel. End, number 312, and no more. How copy? And the other, I copy, Roger, your 312, thanks for the traffic. Thanks for taking it, Kate, image back to net. So that's how we would move that on the air. How do you get involved in the traffic nets? I would recommend finding, if possible, a local traffic net in your area. The ARRL main webpage, ARRL.org, has a net database that you can search. And let me make a note. I will put that in my follow-up email. How to search local nets. And you can find local nets and regional nets and things, and then get involved that way. Find the net at your local level, or if not available, find a regional or area net on HF. Again, listen. I recommend you listen in the beginning, get a feel for that net and how it flows, and then you can start jumping in and participating. I know, like, for example, here, the 7290 traffic net, the first time you check in and participate in the net, even if you don't move any traffic, they send you a radiogram thanking you for finding them and for jumping in on the net. They're very happy to hear from folks that join in. Lots of good nets and lots of excitement when folks want to jump in type of thing. Okay, so for our last exercise, and then we're going to wrap up here, I will have all of you try and copy one from me, and everybody's going to promise they're not going to look, right? Because I need to double check that I'm actually moving the right one. Okay, yeah, that's what we'll do. Okay, so if you've got your blank, so it's essentially an on-air email is the comment. Essentially, it's moving a message. Yeah, you could think of it as an on-air postcard, that type of thing. Yeah, we're moving these messages over the air. And again, when we get into disaster land type of thing, there is no email, there is no phone, there is no infrastructure. That's what we're preparing for. But we prepare for that by moving these, well wishes and greetings and things in between disasters, so that when something does happen, we're well oiled and ready to go and that type of thing. So, okay, refuel. Oh, that's much colder. Okay. So I'm going to have you copy this. And again, I'm going to speak slowly and clearly to try and help you get this written the first time. But here it goes. Please copy number 404, routine, Kilo 8, Alpha Mike Hotel, 15, Dallas, Texas, July 18, going to your station. Break. Now, you know your name and phone number and things, so I don't need to read that to you when it's going to you. So I would just, say going to your station. All right, I got a go from somebody. Thank you. All right, text as follows. Thank you for attending this training. Initial X-ray. Hope you have a fun field day. Figure 7-3. Break. Want to guess when I authored this thing? So, somebody would then give me a go. I'll say, signed, Aaron, amateur call, Kilo 8, Alpha Mike Hotel. End number 404, and no more. How copy? And at this point, you good copy or I Roger your 404. Yeah, I didn't update this for this month. It's still last month. So, there it is. Number 404 routine, K8AMH 15 Dallas, Texas. And back then it was June, so yours will say July. And I do this all the time. I always spell out June or July, even though it should only be the 3 letters, but I do that all the time. But then thank you for attending this training, initial x-ray. Hope you have a fun field day. Figure 7-3, there's where I signed it. So anybody have any questions on how to copy that traffic or anything like that? Okay, so I got a side question. Do I do Zoom club presentations outside of these third Saturday events, but with less radiogram focus and more overall NTS overview and routing? So this is the main session that I've stood up. I haven't authored any additional talks yet. I am in the process of putting something together that's less radiogram focused and more, here's the general gist of the traffic system and why it's helpful. This is for the ARRL. They've started at headquarters a learning series that they're just kicking off, and so they've asked if I could put together a 30-minute talk, and so that's what that focus will be on. I am in the works at some stage. We'll see if I can come up with kind of the next step version of this training. So more of, do you want to become an official relay station, which means that you're becoming more involved with this, and so you'll turn in some reports and you can qualify for points and recognition from ARRL for those of you that get QST, the magazine. It moves around every month, but I think they've been around page 60 something. There'll be a list of public service honor roll stations, folks that have put in a lot of time into traffic system and ARRLs and get recognition. And then after a while, if you qualify, you can get certificates from headquarters and things. So that next level presentation I haven't put together yet, but it's on my plans. If your local group is just wanting like a 30-minute, give me the high level type of things, feel free to shoot me an email, k8amh@arrl.net, and let's talk. That definitely, happy to come in. I've done it for some other groups here in Dallas, but it doesn't necessarily need to be here in Dallas. If you'd like some time to just kind of to do a high level thing. Let me do some quick housekeeping things if folks need to drop off and seeing the thanks in the chat. No, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it very much. And again, if you have questions, feel free to reach out, and I've got some resources on screen. I will send a follow-up email with this information as well as I took a note to send a link to the ARRL net search tool. So that you can find nets in your local area. You should also feel free to reach out to your area's section traffic manager, and you can find that information on ARRL's webpage as well. And then just ask your section traffic manager, what are some of the nets that happen in this area and how can I jump in? And they're a great resource to help. If you're having trouble finding out who that is, let me know. I'll help you find who that is and get you in touch with them. If anybody has any other questions, again, throw them in the chat. I can stick around a little bit longer if you need to drop off, that's fine. One question, can you send a radiogram to any ham? And are there any license requirements for this? So participating in a traffic net follows the same licensing requirements as any other on-air activity. If you are a technician, you can operate in the technician areas of the bands only. There's no magic, I'm a traffic net station so I can run out of band in the type of thing. You have to still follow within your license permissions. Can you send a radiogram to any ham? You can send a radiogram to anyone. Now, the exception being, we're not sending things to North Korea because, reasons. But I mean, we've had folks in Dallas send traffic to Japan and Germany and things, and to folks in the military, and then eventually it makes a connection into the military auxiliary radio system. I know it's Mars, but military auxiliary radio system, I think is what that stands for. The NTS will interface with Mars at some stage, and then it makes its way to, say, that military base through Mars. And so the main things we need on the radiogram is their name, their address, and their phone number. Very important on the phone number, because that's how we're going to deliver it at the end. We're going to pick up the phone and we're going to call them. We don't advocate for folks to hop in their car and drive to the destination. I mean, we don't want anything interesting to happen to folks, right? So, we go for the phone. So if name, address, phone, then that's a great way to get it into the system. Again, whether they have a license or not. And if you're delivering a message to someone that's not a ham and they're like, can I send a reply back? Absolutely. You are the station of origin because you're filling out the radiogram on their behalf, but the place of origin is wherever they're at, and their name will go in the signature line. But you, as the ham that are working that and introducing it into the system for them, you go in as the station of origin, and that's so that if we need to get a hold of you with any questions, we know how to get a hold of you, type of thing. But you can very much do that third-party traffic in there like that too. Other questions? Or anything else I can answer on the traffic side? Again, thanks in the chat. You're very welcome, everybody. Again, I really hope this was helpful, and it's just another facet of amateur radio that you can dive in on. And like anything amateur radio, especially if you go into the digital traffic side, you could spend thousands of dollars on ham equipment and have yet more equipment in your shack or whatever. But work your way to that wall of everything. If you find a 2-meter net, just jump in on FM. That's how I interface with the traffic nets. It's a great way to get into it. If you're looking for some other ways to get in with traffic, I have a couple of programs I run down here to help generate traffic. The trivia game, I do a question every week, just as kind of a trivia thing, and folks send their answers through the traffic system on radiograms, and then I kind of keep points because why not? But it gives me an idea on how long traffic takes to transit, and so I can get some data from that. The pen pal project, folks sign up and I connect them as pen pals through the traffic system, and then you get to know each other through the traffic system. There's other trivia programs out there. You could get into the emergency communications side. Again, we're not in a disaster right now, so nothing that's moving, but I know, again, Puerto Rico had things moving through hurricane time. If you get affected areas, then things can spin up. I was talking with a station in Massachusetts that they had spun up when when Puerto Rico happened. They were taking welfare traffic in Massachusetts from Puerto Rico. It's a lot of opportunity to jump in on the traffic system if you want to participate. And you're welcome to send me a radiogram, and if you send me one, I'll very much send you one back. Question: what's the difference between NTS and WinLink? So the traffic system overall, if we look at the whole network, there's the ARRL National Traffic System, NTS, Radio Relay International, RRI, is another traffic system. You'll have some independent traffic nets, so like 7290 traffic net is an independent traffic net. They're not affiliated with any traffic system. But all the systems work together and integrate. So we'll pass in between each other, no problem type of thing. Again, NTS is more US and Canada focused. Radio Relay International can move US and Canada and more international. So they're big with the, like moving to Germany, and things can go through the digital traffic net on their side. WinLink specifically, The overall of WinLink is it's another messaging tool that you can use to move messages across. WinLink uses the internet for some of its backbone, and so if you connect over the air using WinLink to a WinLink node and then introduce a message, then it would dive to email and go to that other person's inbox type of thing. It's effectively an email system over the air. WinLink does drive the digital traffic net side of things, but there are dedicated stations that are set up for traffic movement. So can you introduce a radiogram, for example, via WinLink? Yes, but eventually it leaves the main WinLink system, is what I'll call it, and moves towards traffic specific nodes to get picked up. Just like that in the earlier example where that traffic went to that node in Indiana, that's a dedicated node that's using WinLink as its kind of back end, but once the message gets there, it kind of sits and waits for someone to come get it type of thing. It wouldn't get emailed across or something. Again, when we're talking disasters or things, right, we assume no internet or, things like that. And, sometimes they get the, well, how realistic is that or whatever. We think about that, what just happened? That third party with T-Mobile, where they had that problem with the cellular network that it was just some, third party that T-Mobile was using, and suddenly T-Mobile and Sprint and Verizon and AT&T are all having communications problems where you can't make phone calls or text or data, right? That's what we're planning for. We're planning for those major infrastructure uh-ohs. And so we try to move this over the air as much as possible so that it better reflects what we're going to experience when something does happen. Okay, what WinLink address should we use to route from WinLink network to NTS or digital? So I will, again, if folks need to drop off, feel free, and if you want to stick around for questions, I have a little bit of time yet. We can dive into things. Oh, that's right, my WinLink shortcut is, for whatever reason, missing. I will walk through WinLink very quickly with you just to show how this works, because I think this would be, for folks that are visual learners, this is going to be great. I'll also talk through it. And all right, so the way you would start, if you're going to introduce a piece of traffic, and I'll update that later. If you're going to introduce traffic into the traffic system, and I gave this specifically as an option for folks for field day to move to introduce traffic as well. You would start a new message just like any other WinLink, and then select a template. And from in here, when you expand, you're going to find this radiogram entry, and you'll use this radiogram template. And up will come the browser. And surprisingly, this is going to look like a radiogram. You'll get a number, and you can override this, but WinLink will also track it. What's the precedence? What handling instructions? Station of origin, place of origin, the optional time, the date, and who's it going to? Name, call sign, address, and then the message text. Thanks for attending today, 7/3. Right now, the check automatically updated. So I don't have to worry about figuring that out. It's already put that in here for me. And then to put it into the digital traffic net to get it into the system overall, you're going to click right here where it says select a liaison station. And so this is helping the system route it to its destination by picking where it's about to head. And you should pick where it's headed. So let's say you're sending something to me, and my call sign has an 8 in it because of Michigan. I am not in Michigan. So you're going to pick where I am, and I am in Texas, so region 5. So this is not the call sign. This doesn't reflect the destination call sign. It reflects their physical location. This is headed to Texas, so I would put region 5 here. And you'll notice it fills in that information automatically. I think I have to put some information here, or it's gonna, not let me submit it. I don't know Detroit's zip code offhand. All right, let's see if that's good. And then once everything's filled in and you've picked all your handling instructions or none, if you don't have any, you hit submit. Oh, I got to put the place of origin. You'll hit, okay, signed. All right. And I'll say to complete your submission, click OK to close the window. This will blank out. And if we minimize this, now we'll see in the WinLink message that everything has been filled in for us. And it is very important that we do not change anything in here. So we're going to send this to Region 5. It also goes to Radio Relay International's archive. The subject is what the other stations connecting in will see. There's one piece of traffic that's routine headed to Detroit, this zip code. And that's how they can go, okay, I'll go ahead and take those because they're headed to my area type of thing. And then in here is all the radiogram information, the header, the address, phone number, breaking for the text section, and then breaking again for the signature and the end of the message. So you would not change anything in here at all. You would immediately hit post to outbox like any other WinLink message. And then you can go ahead and send it like you would any other WinLink message. You connect into your local WinLink gateway, or if you're going to use Telnet, you can use Telnet, but not during field day because it has to be over the air in order to get points. But you can then send it into WinLink like you normally would, and then that system will route it into the traffic system and get it headed on its way like anything else. So let me know if any questions on that. In the meantime, I'll answer this other. Are there any statistics showing increased NTS usage after your sessions? The best data I can give you is on my webpage. And this is a good question that can be difficult to answer when you don't collect the data. I'm a data person, so I started tracking participation and things, and that's just basically done through the reports I get each month that I turn into ARRL headquarters. So this takes a second to load because it's loading real-time charts and things from Office Online. I don't know why this is so slow today. My internet connection is apparently fussy. But while this loads for a while, each month, official relay stations send me their statistics. So how many messages did they send and how many did they receive and how many did they deliver? Traffic nets that are affiliated with the National Traffic System send me their data. How many check-ins did they get? How much traffic moved through them? And how long in minutes were those net sessions? And so let's start with that one first. So for Dallas-Fort Worth, there are 2 sessions every day, early and late. And I think there was a question earlier, now that I'm scrolling up, is what are the traffic nets in Fort Worth? Let me answer that real fast. dfwtrafficnet.org. I'll put that in the chat here. dfwtrafficnet.org. Nets happen twice a day, 6:30 p.m., 10:30 p.m. every day. W5FC is the 6:30, and WA5CKF in Irving is the 10:30. Details are on the webpage. If you enjoy hearing me talk, then come to the Monday early session. That's when I'm the net control station. So I get the, how many check-ins, how much traffic, how long were they, how many sessions did you hold? And that's how I know how much traffic is moving through the traffic nets. And then I am charting out that information by the month just to understand what's going on with things. And in March, I started driving some additional programs to generate traffic and started these training sessions and things. And so, we're seeing check-ins go up and things like that. It's been really good. We're eventually going to have a drop-off. You know how it is. Folks jump in and they participate for a bit and they go, you know what, that's not for me. And that's cool. if we get into an emergency scenario or things, and someone says, okay, they're connected to the traffic system, well, you know what that means, and that's a big win. That helps. So, it helps demystify, what's going on. So that's the net side. On the official relay station side, we track, again, how many messages are sent, received, how many did they originate, how many did they deliver, and then there's the public service honor roll points, which tracks how many public service nets were you on, did you participate in any simulated emergency tests or things like that, or real events like a Skywarn net or things, and you get points based on how many hours or things. But we collect all that information, and that gets sent to headquarters. And here you can see the station points have just shot up because we've just got that much more traffic involvement in things here. Since we started kicking things off in the March-April timeframe. So it's been really positive to see the increased participation on things. And then folks that have jumped in with like NTS Pen Pal, I can spell really. There we go. And let me get the trivia going for fun. They're getting increased traffic in their sections just from folks that are jumping in and participating on the traffic nets. Pen Pal has been great for folks that just want to get to know folks outside their area and get some traffic headed out of area and have it come back to them type of thing. The trivia has been really helpful for folks that they want to practice, but they don't necessarily, they're not looking to have a conversation with that other station, but they want to get some hands-on practice with getting things introduced. And again, I put a question for the week, and folks can submit. I have a mailing list for this that if you want it in your inbox, and then you just send the answer as a radiogram. And in here I have statistics on not only the points, because why not? How many did you get right, or different things, but how many responses am I getting, and I don't know why this is taking so long for Office 365 to load, but there it is. Not only how many responses I'm getting, but more interesting, what are the transit times, right? How long are these taking to reach me here in Dallas? And the good news is, on average, we're looking at about 2 days for things to wobble through the system, and that's a reasonable time frame because the traffic nets run at dedicated times because we're not in emergency mode where we're standing it up 24/7. So I bring something to the local net, and then they need to wait maybe till the next morning for the regional net, and then they move it at the regional net, and it kind of takes its steps. So 1 or 2 days is reasonable. But I can gather this data just based on, what's the date in the radiogram and what day did I get it on? And then I, can put the data together. And then when you get some of those extremes, like, that took 3 weeks, what happened? Is it isolated? Or is it something that we're regularly seeing? Then we can do some investigation on that because now we have the data. So, there's the answer there on the data side. Other questions? I know we were wrapped up with the session a little bit ago, and again, happy to take the questions. But otherwise, again, I will send follow-up email with, again, the like how to find a local net on ARRL. Why don't I put how to find your section traffic manager just for fun there, and that way you've got that along with some other links and things. If you want to stay updated on what I've got going on, back on the main page on my webpage, or you could go to the email list in the menu, either way, but you can join my mailing list. Not only do I talk about upcoming presentations and things, but you can see my monthly reports that I send to headquarters. It's effectively the same thing that I just showed on the statistics page. What are our numbers from our official relay stations, and what are our traffic net numbers, and then kind of what's going on, any news from the section related to traffic, such as here that Roger qualified for recognition in what's called Brass Pounders League because he handled so much traffic last month. He gets special recognition from ARRL headquarters and just different things like that. So the newsletter is a good way to stay in touch. Follow me on Twitter too, that type of thing. And again, any questions, please feel free to shoot me an email, and we can work things out and get you connected to the right places, or if you're just interested in having that quick presentation for your local club or that type of thing, definitely feel free to reach out. Just one last check. Any other final questions? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and call it. And again, I'll put the recording up on YouTube and send that out in the follow-up email. That'll be later this evening once I get everything processed and all that. Again, thank you so much, everybody, and I appreciate your time so much, and I'm glad folks have found this helpful. Please feel free to reach out with questions or things. And again, I'll try and set up another session in August. I've kind of joked, as long as folks sign up, I'll continue doing it. So, happy to hold it again, and feel free to let other folks know. And again, any questions, just feel free to send me an email, and we can get it figured out. And I was saying we just started to add radiogram practice to our Areas Weekly net. That's awesome. And if you folks want to send them to me and I can send them back, you want to demonstrate how out of area works and things, feel free to put me as the destination. There's no need to put a phone number on mine because I'm on the traffic nets pretty much daily, and so anything routed to me, then I just pick them up at the local net, and there's no need to do the phone call. I just grab them straight from the net. Be careful what you ask for. How many hundreds am I going to get? No, again, feel free to send them. These types of things are good for practice. And it's like with field day, I've had some folks that said, well, are you sure you want me to put traffic into this system? It sounds like you're going to have a lot. Yeah, we want you to put it in the system. It's great to test things for when we get into a real a disaster situation or things where we're going to spin up a lot of traffic. How are we doing, and what'll happen if we get an influx, right? We won't know that until we test it. And so please, if you've got 10, 20, 30, if all of them want to send me something, I guess, but it's perfectly great to have folks send things, and let's test it out, definitely. So, alrighty, again, thanks everybody, and I'm going to go ahead and end the recording, and we'll end the meeting. Take care, 73 from me, and we'll catch everybody later. Take care.